says live on YouTube.
Okay, it is live on YouTube? Okay.
Well, that's what it says on my screen. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
Much going on my
yeah,
screen.
It's good. Okay, so hello, Casey. Let's see. Get that off of there. Hello, El Gore. How you doing? Ellie. Glenn Ray. How you doing, Glenn Ray? Pat Graham. How you doing? So we're having a little problem with Facebook. I can go live on the phone, but I can't seem to hook up the show, which is a problem we had last month quite a bit. So if anybody would love to see a great show with my dear friend Huong Nguyen, who a lot of you know behind the scenes, she's going to sit down with us for the next hour on YouTube. I'm going to go and put the link on my page right now. Put the link onto the Facebook page. All right. Okay, so here is, let me put this down for a second. Okay, so I'm trying to do three things at one time. We're going on YouTube. We're having a problem with Facebook, so this next show we're going to go on YouTube. So I'm going to make a little post and put it on my page. SoulSpeaks. Oops, I just dropped the phone on everybody. Okay, hang on. Let's see. So we're going to be on YouTube. We're on there now. SoulogyOneStudios. Huong Nguyen and myself, we're going to sit down for the next hour. We're going to talk dragons. Show starts now. All right, so we'll put the link in, paste, and click. All right. So yeah, how's it going, everybody? Hey, Victoria. Anna Thomas, Robin, Barbara, Vic Snow. Yeah, we're going to be over on YouTube. We're over there now. We got 6 people in the house. Paul Castaneda, Elia Maya, Organical Vibes 369. You can see us there. There she is. Can you see her? Oh, there she is, right there. There. We're on YouTube. And you can see us there in just a second. Hello, Linda. Yeah. All right, Mike Capo. You guys come on over to YouTube. We're going to have a show for the next hour. Things didn't work out with Facebook, so we're going to just have to improvise. You're all welcome to come. If you see this live, and if you see it in a few minutes on a replay, come on over and check us out on YouTube. The link is on my personal page at the top of the page. Or you can go to SoulogyOneStudios on YouTube. SoulogyOneStudios channel on YouTube. All right. Okay. All right. Let me just post that. And that's good to go. And let me share it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can also watch. I should have told them you can also watch it on Zoom, but
I think there was one on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there's two here. All right, let me put this onto the group. All right. Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to turn on YouTube on my phone so I can check the comments, so I can stay with you. Oh yeah, Linda Winger's here, Glenn's here, Robin Quarles is here.
Oh, hi, Linda.
Yeah, there's lots of people. Okay, let me go to the library. Go to here. All right, turn my volume down. Got 11 people. 11 people here. Okay. All right. So, a little bit of a rough start. 14 minutes late. Sorry about that. It's all her fault. It's all her fault.
It is. It is. Sorry.
So I have to tell the story. So you came over here 3 months ago with your sister and a bunch of kids, a whole army of kids, and
Yes.
we hooked up. You, Morgan, and I hooked up down in Poipu on the south side of Kauai, and we had a really good time. It was very nice because you've always been very supportive. I know of Soulogy and of many others behind the scenes, so it was really nice to get to meet you.
Yeah, it's different being in front of the camera, I have to say.
Is it?
It
Yeah.
is. I hesitate. I'm always behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it's not because I have problems talking about myself, because I love talking about myself. And it's not that I have fears of being in front of the camera. It's so strange. I'm usually, I don't know, it's just weird. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, especially with the work you do, because you're an interior designer, so I imagine you're always talking to people.
I'm always talking. And if I have a captivated audience, like, on camera or whatever, I'm in my element. I have no problems public speaking. If people are trapped in the room and they're forced to listen to me, that's great. Like, I thrive. So it's one of those things where it's just like, but as soon as, usually I do every 2 weeks for the last 2 years, I've been a moderator on my friend's show, TN Talks. And I'm in the background, basically doing your work, but I'm not in front of the camera. So usually in the background, I'm keeping the show going like you and making sure that Tian stays on topic because he likes to rant, and then engaging the audience digitally behind the background.
So you're like the producer.
That's yeah. So I do prefer. Well, I shouldn't say prefer. I'm used to that role. So having myself in front of the camera, I'm just like, oh, I can't sit there and roll my eyes. I have to be a little bit more mindful of my suggestions.
Right.
Because usually I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, really? Did you just say that? Oh my God, that's digitally recorded. So yeah, or I have to pay attention.
I think I give Morgan a lot of those moments. Did he just say that?
Yeah, exactly.
So we got 8 people in the Zoom room, and got 13 in YouTube. If these shows resonate, please share. We could not get on the Facebook. We're gonna have I think a pretty humorous next hour. But when you were down here in Kauai, I was telling you about some of the dragon episodes that I had here the first 6 weeks before Morgan got here. And then you started talking about your own connection with dragons, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know if you want to start there.
Yeah, sure, I can start there. So I think what the context of the story probably is better for anyone that doesn't know me. So basically, I'm Vietnamese. Both my parents are from Vietnam, and we immigrated to Canada. I currently live in Vancouver, BC. So my cultural background is very different, I would say, for the majority of your viewers, in that I never really had an awakening. A lot of people have quite an abrupt awakening from their human aspect into their higher aspect, and there's quite like yourself.
Yeah.
And so there's always dramatic, really awesome stories about how you came into alignment with your higher self. And I don't have that dramatic story to share. Along with the dramatic story, you guys have great stories and narratives when it comes
painful.
It is, but it's dramatic. Like higher self does not recognize suffering and trauma. It just they recognize narratives, right?
Yeah.
So I would say for a lot of your viewers, many people can relate to you and a lot of other teachers out there because they have a similar narrative where you come into alignment with your higher self, and it is so abrupt. The conflict is there. So there's great trauma, there's amazing suffering, there's like your hashtag here, the human is the hero. And I love hearing the stories. I do. They're great. They're beautiful. For my culture, I was born into that narrative. I didn't have to create it. So the Vietnamese culture, and if you're not familiar with Asians, because predominantly your viewers are mostly, white people, Caucasians, and the Vietnamese culture, we're like the jungle Asians. We're not fancy. We're not the ones with lots of money. The jungle Asians we're built on basically poverty, oppression, and war. We don't really have a great story except the time that we kicked out the States, right? When the States invaded.
Yeah,
that was our crowning glory. But we're just jungle Asians. So there's a lot of, in order to get through that trauma, in so many generations of trauma, what it happens is you need to fall back on a higher self story.
Mm.
Otherwise, the pain of living with the human aspect becomes really hard to live with. So, born into my culture, my parents have always said, you have one foot walking the spirit world and one foot walking the physical world. Because if we don't have that balance, a lot of people want to leave the physical world. There's nothing here to ground you, right?
Yeah.
So I was born into that. So, and we, my dad himself, he actually, when he was growing up, he studied martial arts to a really high level. And back in his day, they didn't, that was normal. People would study martial arts over actual like traditional curriculum.
Yeah.
So instead of you spending 8 hours in a classroom doing trigonometry that you'll never use in the rest of your life, my dad's battling demons. This is what he
Wow.
did. Yeah. So
Wow.
he would go and he would learn the art form to the point that he would be in the astral spiritual world. And it was perfectly normal in his group of community. Is they, once he returned from the spirit world, they would share the stories of whatever it is that was engaged in at that form, and then they, you know, slurp back some noodles and then call it a day. It's kind of just, that's just the culture. And that was parented to me at growing up. So even when I was growing up, I had stories that I it felt it had a little bit of truth to it, but as a kid, you're not really sure, right? The
Right.
realities of a child's reality going into an adult, you never know. The line is so blurred. It's kind of crazy. So my dad, I was born into a dragon lineage. It's not something that I had earned, I would say. But as I learned about different parts of the dragon energy, there are 3 ways that you can actually access it. But I didn't really earn it. I was born into it.
I got you.
So yeah, so if you go back to the Vietnamese culture, you will find lots of documentaries about the folklore of how the Vietnamese culture came to rise. And it was basically, there's a story where there's a fairy that fell in love with the dragon prince, and together that union created the Vietnamese culture.
Mm.
Yeah, so one of the dynasties of the Vietnamese culture is the Nguyen dynasty, the last ruling dynasty for Vietnam. And my dad,
That would be your name.
yes, that's right. But there's a funny story to that, because if you actually go through our culture, it's like the last name Nguyen is so common. It's like equivalent to your Smith, right?
Okay.
It's so generic, you can't go wrong. But a lot of people don't understand that it was because the last dynasty actually was a very small dynasty. And one of the things about the Asian culture is having extensive family. The bigger your family, the more powerful you are, because the more diverse you are.
Mm.
And then so the last ruling dynasty of royalties didn't have that strength in numbers, but they wanted that legacy. So the basically emperor of that dynasty said, if you would trade in your last name and adopt Nguyen or Nguyen, properly pronounced in Vietnamese, then I will give you, back in that day, whatever, a bag of rice and 2 chickens, right? Now, in our culture, trading in your last name, you might as well just go to hell and back. Like, that's a huge shame. You like bring dishonor on your family, on your cow, everything. But if you were impoverished enough, those 2 chickens and a rice would get you really far, and you would trade it in. So then that's where the name grew.
Oh, I
That's
see.
why so many of the Vietnamese people, they have Nguyen. So my dad, even to this day, he goes, we are part of the royal real blood. We aren't one of those traders that traded our name in for some chickens, okay? So, but if you link back that, even when as a kid, my dad used to always say that it's the dragon energy. If you ever are in fear, or if you ever need to do something so impossible, you pull on the dragon heritage lineage. And at that time, I had no clue what the hell my dad was talking about, right? I'm like, oh, cool. My dad hangs out with dragons. And it just kind of is backlogged, not very useful information in the Western culture when you're trying to acclimatize. Because here I am growing up in Whitecourt, Alberta, which is like, can't get any more redneck.
Right. And snow.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't grew up in 2 worlds, trying to adjust to the new world, because my dad we were the original boat people. We came here on a rickety boat, really with zero chance of survival, except for the hope that there's a better life somewhere out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so by the grace of everything, we're here as the first generation in Canada, and we're thriving. So that is the context that basically I was born into.
Wow.
Most recently in 2017, I met my own dragon, and that was by accident. So, and it was one of those things. I had an intuitive teacher, Joy, who is amazing when it comes to just bringing students through a meditative state. And she had reached out and had asked if I was able to come and help her heal Vancouver. And for me, I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean heal Vancouver? So she's like,
Wow.
just come in and heal Vancouver. She told me nothing else. She was a very good customer at my store. She shops really well. So I'm an interior designer, and I own a furniture boutique as well. And I've got to know her through the business side. So when I learned about the personal side, it all synced up really nicely. And she wanted to do this. She's like, a huge teacher in the light working community down here. And she was saying that Vancouver, it's still undecided, but at that time in 2017, Vancouver was slated to be the next light city for the Ascension mission.
Oh, wow.
So she needed basically her students to pull together and clear it so that it's at its highest vibration. Back in 2017, I had no idea what that meant. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go hang out with a bunch of hippie students with my favorite person who I love and adore, and we'll see what happens. So I'm sitting in this meditative group with a whole bunch of her students, and her students have gone through this process before, because as soon as they were in, they got this pose down, mudras, they're breathing properly, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, just being an asshole in my head, because I'm like,
that would be me.
I was like, I'm sitting beside a guy with dreadlocks and I could smell him. You know what I mean? So these are the purifying thoughts that are going through my head. But Joy is great. She was able, I can't really quiet my mind, but she was able to help me get down to a level where I would say it's as close to meditation as I'm ever going to get without like being unconscious. And that's when she was going through, it was a group meditation, and that's when my dragon showed itself.
Wow.
And
What was that like? What happened?
so it was basically my inner asshole monologue was just going through the day saying, oh, did I submit my PST taxes? I can't remember. Oh shit, are the kids going to, whatever, swimming lessons? Like going through your laundry list as just mundane human tasks. And then all of a sudden I was just dropped. I dropped. The brain shut down. And then I just got locked in, and I saw it. I saw the dragon from my dragon's point of view. So basically what had happened was I was flying over Vancouver. Metro Vancouver is huge. And the dragon just unleashed fury, just burnt the crap out of all of Vancouver. It was all burnt down, suburbs, all of it. It was just blackened. And then all the architecture just flattened.
Wow.
Yeah, and all you're left is just black dust. Like it was all burning, and I was shaking, physically shaking. And then Joy basically snapped her finger, brought the students and myself all back to body, and basically trying to get us back in. And then we had a sharing circle of what everyone did in helping clearing Vancouver for this, basically purifying it. And so and that's when everyone's going around. There's like 13 of us, right, including me, and then everyone's going around. They're sharing beautiful stories. Like one's like, I planted seeds of love. I'm like, oh, so nice. Another one's like, there was rainbows. She farted rainbows. I'm not really sure. So it's just one of those things. But everyone had lovely stories to share of how they cleared, anchored, seeded, all of that. And then it came to me, and so, but I'm not one to hold back. It was for me, it like caused so much physical exertion. I had a pounding headache. And then I just said, you know what? I saw a really big black dragon the size of Vancouver. Like this was not a small dragon, full leathery. It's not even the cuddly kind, you know, it's the kind that's kind of huge wingspan and lots of horns, and it's leathery and it's black. Everything about it is black. And it just burnt the crap out of Vancouver. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what happened there.
Everything y'all built and saw, my dragon just burned it all up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I hope your flowers survived. I don't know. And everyone was kind of gasping, right? They're like, oh, who let the new kid in? Why did the new kid burn down our work? So my teacher, who's never actually been exposed to dragon energy, she can see, my friend Joy was just like, she had to take a couple seconds to kind of ground herself because she can feel the immense power coming through me in my expression. And all of the other students who were listening was just sitting there in shock and trying to process everything. So Joy was good. She just kind of moved on. She's like, okay, we're just going to file that and we'll talk about that later. I was like, oh, is that a bad thing? Yeah, so that was the first introduction, and that's over. That was the first time that I realized it was actually my dragon showing form. So when I talked to my dad a couple months ago, because we were going to Kauai, and my dad just blurted out. My dad doesn't really pay attention to my social life, right? So he's just like, "Oh, you're going to Kauai? Well, say hi to the creator dragons." Just out of the blue, just like casually. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll just say hi." So remember when I came to visit, and the weird thing is, your dragon came in, and you posted a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So describe your dragon.
Well, that particular post, it was a blue. There was quite a few of them showed themselves to me. After you left, 12 of them came one night.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty. I spent a week. I came out of this apartment because Morgan had gone home for 2 months, gone to Australia. So I moved into another apartment for about a week until I worked something back out to come back in this one. And during that week, it was nothing but dragons. It was dragons before she came. I was here for 6 weeks. Then she came and we had our own experiences for 3 months. And then she left. And then I went into the other apartment and these 12 dragons came. And that was really cool. I wrote about that. But the one you were talking about was a blue one, one of several. But after the 12 showed themselves, I moved back in this apartment. And about 3 or 4 days later, I was laying on the couch. And in fact, I saw it yesterday. A big white. It had the leathery thing and everything, but it was white. And it had like rainbow colors in the white scales. And I was laying on the couch. I was sleeping on the couch because I don't want to sleep in the bed when she's gone. And it laid its head on my shoulder. And it pretty much told me, I'm your dragon. I'm your dragon. You've met all the other dragons, but I'm your dragon. And I was like, okay, wow. Yeah. So that's my dragon. White with rainbow, kind of like rainbow translucent tint through it, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's masculine or feminine. I think it's both. And it's very, very beautiful. And it's also very, very dragon. Like in fact, about 2 weeks ago, I called on it. And I don't normally do stuff like that. But I was in a certain place processing a bunch of stuff, and I just went out by myself and I called it in. I said, I need my dragon now. You know, I need strength, I need wisdom, I need fortitude, and it works. I love it.
Yeah. Now, yeah. So that when you posted that photo, it was one of the first. So what happens is, so my dragon actually changes colors. So when my dragon and dragons actually are genderless. They encompass the entire gender spectrum in their physical form.
Yeah.
So they are the all and they're the one. The human aspect, sometimes the human aspect will pick up a dominant vibration of the dragon that we qualify as feminine, because some of them come across more nurturing
Yeah.
and a little bit softer. And then some will pick up more of the action-oriented energy spectrum, which we have labeled as more masculine.
Right.
So my dragon is when my dragon is, I say working or actually doing something that, yeah, working would be the best way to describe it. My dragon actually goes black. If my dragon's just hanging out and just farting around, I call him his because he's usually in motion. But my dragon usually is just blue, and it's that brilliant electric blue. So there's not a lot of hard form when he's in his natural form. There's not a lot of hard lines to it. It's very blue and very flowy. Yeah. And when he's working, you see the big form come in. He basically pulls his form together. But they're shapeshifters too, right? Yeah. The higher level dragons. Yeah. So they're shapeshifters for sure. But no, my dragon's natural vibration is quite assertive, and he's kind of a jerk. Like, he talks to me.
What does he say?
Well, he's just kind of like, you can tell when my dragon's around, because there's other dragons. There are other dragons, and I can feel their vibration, and they have personalities as well, just like us. But mine is just like, oh my God, suck it up, princess. Like, stop whining. Yeah. So it's a lot of it's not cuddly language at all. It's like, get your ass in gears, quit whining, do the work, you'll be fine. You're made for this, you were born for this, you're created ready. You don't need any of that. There's no room or allowance for like pity parties with my dragon. Right. As soon as I get to the pity party, the dragon like energy comes out and starts like verbally beating me back into shape, right? Yeah. Just saying, you need to own this. You can't go around like feeling sorry for yourself kind of thing. Yeah. But net dragons that are super soft and, very nurturing and encompassing and more inviting for sure.
Well, now that I think about it, I think about the episode with the 12, because there was a whole bunch of them the first 6 weeks, particularly a blue one, a green one, and a red one. There was a black one. There was a black and red one. The blue one was real big in its presence. But now that I think about it, that white one has all the colors in it, and I'm just wondering if it was all the same dragon. Now that I think about it.
Could be.
I'll have to ask.
Yeah, you have to ask, because some dragons love their form, and they will only show you that form. They're like, for example, one of my nieces, she has a dragon that is actually in a really kind of scary form. Wow. And I have asked it to shift because I know they have that capability. And then her dragon says, no, I love my form. You guys shift. And she's like 9 months. So every time the dragon shows up, she starts freaking out, of course, right? Wow. Where it's just kind of.
And can you sense it when it comes?
Yeah. So I've got to the point where I can feel the different energies. So for me, I've learned kind of my energetic system, the difference between mine and other people's, and the collectives and the dragons. So when there is a dragon energy, for me, feels like elemental. It's like when you're in the woods. The best way to describe it is, if you've ever been in a situation where you're just immersed in nature and a huge gust of wind comes through, or powerful lightning comes through, or like you're at the edge of the ocean and the waves come in. So that type of elemental energy comes through. Yeah. There's nothing subtle about it. You cannot miss dragon energy. And it's because dragon energy runs off of Gaia's 5 elements. So in this timeline, what happens is they ride in on that and they amplify it. So Gaia currently has 5 elements. So if you feel power coming from basically wind, water, fire, earth, and what's the other one? Is it nature or wood? I can't remember. There's 5. If any of those come in really strong for you, it's dragon energy that comes through. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense in my experience through the last few months.
Yeah. And Kauai, for me, it was really funny. When I was flying into Kauai, one of the things that happens, usually my dragons, they come in, they come out, and sometimes I wonder, I'm like, oh, did you guys just abandon me? Like, totally just left me. And when I flew into Kauai, they just left me right at the edge, because I love Hawaii. I've been to all the islands. Kauai was the last island that I haven't been to, so I was super excited to be there. And they were there for Maui, Kona, all, you know, Oahu, all of that.
But
But then,
Kauai, they just escorted you to the edge and then left.
yeah, and said, okay, bye. I was like, oh, what happened? And they're like, this is marked territory. So I got it very clear that the dragon and it was because in Kauai, you are at one of the hubs of the creator dragon. So dragons come into hierarchical energy beings as well. There is a hierarchy. There's definitely, I wouldn't say lesser or higher, but there's definitely less powerful dragons and more powerful ones. The most powerful dragon is the creator dragon. Creator dragons are the ones that were responsible for creating what is currently here.
That's what I understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't actually surprised at all that you landed in Kauai. And it didn't, and seeing the image of the same dragon that popped into my head, that didn't surprise me as well. Yeah. And I knew that you would be basically a bearer or ambassador for dragons, whether you liked it or not. Like I just kind of felt all of that coming through. Yeah. And that's when I messaged you and said, like it or not, you are an ambassador.
Yes, and you sent that to me, Katie Indicrow, who's very much aligned with dragon energy. She sent me one at the same time. I'm staying at this lady's place, who's now my friend. I was renting a room, and they were there from the first day. And I forgot about that. I now remember in the blue one some things that happened specifically. But I remember you sent me that note. I'd never seen a dragon. I mean, I think I had a couple little episodes, but then she said that, and you said that, and then and then Morgan came. And I didn't really have much going on with the dragons until one morning. We were in a tough spot for a while, you know, while we were getting initiated by the island, trying to figure out where can we go stay, because we don't really have any money. And we were in this condo and we were having to get out. It was February the 4th, because that's the day we found this place. And I was sitting on the couch. She was getting the final things together. And all of a sudden, this dragon jumped into my body, literally jumped into my body. I was on the couch. I thought I was going to throw up. I said, what is going on? She's like, oh, you never had anything jump into your body? I'm like, not like this. But it was, it's all coming back to me now. They've been good to me. They've been very good to me.
Yes.
But like you said, the energy is, let's get it done. You know, let's get it done. So,
So basically, I haven't actually been, since Kauai, I have not been feeling my dragons. They basically just came back online for me probably 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and in Kauai, I wasn't getting my dragon or any reading off my dragons, but I was picking up tons of dragon energy. But what was really interesting about Kauai was when I came back, I had a dream that basically the creator dragon was reversing the polarity of the island. So usually what happens is dragons control the flow of energy. So as creator, one of the creators of the island, I guess what she's doing, and I'm calling her she because that's how she kind of comes across. She's more nurturing. That dragon has reversed the polarity. So all the energy coming from outside of Gaia is being channeled inside through a huge portal in Kauai.
Wow.
And it screwed me up when I was there because, like I said, the beauty of Kauai is like unsurpassed. Love it. It's so gorgeous there. Oh, hi, Julie. Julie Roberts is on. So basically it funneled in, and because the natural positioning of Kauai is to project out and feed Gaia. But for whatever reason, it was funneling in.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that. I just saw like huge funnel going in this direction when I know it usually goes like this.
Yeah, like reverse.
Yeah. And that, for me, that's kind of what screwed up, because I'm very, for my energy form, if I don't, I have a very singularity of happiness when it comes to my energy. If I go out of that zone, I'm very crabby. Like, don't hang out with me. I'm super bitchy. So it's a very small slice. If I go out of that, I can get really ill quickly. So in Kauai, I was out of that comfort zone because it wasn't nurturing to my vibration. But when I got home and I was a little bit more stable, because in my home I actually set my own vibration on how I prefer it. Then the visions came in only after I came home. And even to this day, I still think Kauai's pulling energy in, and what the message was coming from. And at this point, I don't really study with in terms of, unless I have to, I'll go Google and look up information. But the word agathar, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, came up.
Agartha.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, ESL. But anyways, that word came up, and
Yes.
I had to actually ask my friends. So I was asking Julie, who just so funny, she popped on. I was like, "Do you know what this word is?" And she gave me the historical background. I'm like, "So these people live inside of Earth?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Yeah, Middle Earth." And she goes, "It's been told that Atlantis is located, no, not all of Atlantis, portions of Atlantis is located in there."
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so that basically is in alignment of the message, because I was like, I'm not sure what's going on, but I can see energy pouring in and harvesting energy to power up the middle to rise.
Yeah. Yeah. That resonates. And the reason is because over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I kept getting this thing like if it was a clock, you know, and it's going that direction. Well, it was kind of like this, and then it stops, and then it starts going like that.
Yeah.
As recent as yesterday. I saw it yesterday. It was like that, and then it stopped and started going the other way.
And the reverse.
Very much
Yeah,
what you're
reverse.
describing. Yeah.
Reverse flow. So, and it's one of those things. And when it, so I don't know if it's still reverse flow or not. I still feel that it's still energy is channeling through Kauai, like just drawing like crazy down there. So I'm not sure, maybe someone that watches this video will kind of elaborate a little bit more on it, but there definitely is a huge reversal of energy into the core of Gaia. And I'm not really sure if that means that Gaia is resetting her polarity. But there's huge shift, and it's been very, I would say, uncomfortable for a lot of people since probably November.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
everything that you thought was at least working for you, whatever system that is or support system, all of that's collapsing.
Yeah.
And it's all like wobbly, and you're trying to kind of, but because the gravity has, and I'm not the tech geek, I'm not the nerd on this topic, but it just feels like the whatever elements that are in place that normally makes Gaia stable is not there.
Yeah.
It's being like reinvented.
Yeah.
And then just recently, when the dragons came back online for me about 2 weeks ago, one of the other things I thought was, I can see, so the dragons basically laid the geomagnetic core of Gaia's current energetic system. Her next rendition will be a little bit different. And I thought for sure, because it's kind of like dragon operating mode, is to, if it's broken, we don't fix it. We just burn that shit down. That's normally how dragons work, because there's no point. There's so much, just building on a poor platform doesn't work for them. So they just rip out the foundation of the home and then start fresh.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. 2 weeks ago, I had a vision. So if you can imagine basically a rod coming through that represents the magnetic core, the dragons were weaving through it, kind of like artery system around it in a coil, and wrapping it in blue and red. Wow. And instead of just taking out that energetic system, they're basically wrapping it. And I got images of those colors and images of plasma, which down the road, I think back in, I think it was in November, I did download that new dragons were being birthed out of different elementals, One of it was plasma, and the other one, the best way to describe it is just psychic energy, whatever excess spiritual energy that any being gives off, that dragon can harvest. But yeah, so it was being wrapped in plasma right now. So I guess in that process, everything is being reworked, like renovated. I can only just bring it back to my kind of interior design background, where instead of just bulldozing the house down and rebuilding something new, they're renovating.
Yeah. Yeah, and the plasma resonates too. I can't pinpoint the different times I've picked up on it since I've been here, but it resonates. Somebody asked, and I think it's a good question. You'd be the right one to ask. How does somebody connect with their dragon?
There are 3 ways that the dragon comes to you. You can be born into it. So there's your genetic, kind of call it the meat sack. So your genetic meat sack comes with encoding for natural dragon interaction. So you can be born into the lineage. If you're not born into the lineage, the next ease and grace way of doing it is being a high level intuitive, where you can tap into existing energy that the dragons have laid down. So for example, there are certain hotspots around the world that dragons love. So in where I live, we actually do have a dragon hotspot. If you look down on the map of Richmond, BC, you will see basically a dragon head formed. So the geomancy of the land is conducive to that. Kauai is another huge, actually all the Hawaiian islands, huge energy formed there for dragons as well. Yellowstone is another one. So wherever you have like just big activity, you can tap into it as an intuitive.
Okay.
The third way is going through a huge suffering narrative and breaking through that trauma and earning your dragon. So if you earn your dragon, here's the tricky thing. If you earn your dragon, you have to do something with that energy. Dragon energy is so powerful that if you just hoard onto it and you do not do something magnificent and gorgeous and delicious with it, you just sit there and Netflix and chill, you will basically, your system will crash. So if you earned your dragon, the reason why is because you're supposed to bring that energy back out into the world. It's a rule of reciprocity. So you need to be careful. If you earn your energy, like yourself, you have earned yours. So your role as the ambassador of dragons is you need to put that energy back out. If you try to hold on to it, you will get physically sick. You will break down mentally, spiritually, physically, all of that. Yeah. So that's the more traumatic way of meeting your dragon.
Well, that makes sense. That'd be the one I chose.
Of course.
And so, how do you work with your dragon? How do you work with the dragon?
I don't work with my dragon. I am in service to my dragons.
You're in service to the dragon.
Yes.
Well, okay. So what's your connection, your relationship? what's that look like?
So basically, it's kind of in the same. If you honor the lineage behind it. I mean, my dad has called on the dragons many times. There's many times where his life was actually physically at threat and he was going to die. So he would draw on the power of the full dragon energy through his lineage and get through that. So you can use that. Dragon energy is an amplifier. So what that means is if it amplifies whatever natural energy system you are encoded with. So there's a whole bunch of different types that are out there. So for example, Morgan, she is powered up with huge sexual energy. She comes in contact with dragon energy, and if she's not responsible for her sexual energy, everybody around her is going to be at this level of like intense orgasm, not be able to figure out what's happening to them, right? So it amplifies it. There are energy forms out there that are based mainly on fear because you haven't done the inner work. If you come in contact, if you harness dragon energy does not judge. There's no discernment. It's just pure energy. So you can think of it in the analogy of just plugging in extra wattage to your own system, and you have the opportunity to put it out and distribute it and magnify it and do amazing, awesome things. Or if you hold on to it, you will blow. So it's like putting a Lamborghini engine in a Pinto car carcass, you'll blow. So you have to climatize to it. Otherwise you will blow. So did that answer the question on how if you're looking for dragon energy, the easiest way to do it without going Todd Medina route
That's not an
is
easy way.
is to basically go in an area that feels really high vibration
Yeah.
and pick out that form and tap your natural energy form into it.
Yeah.
If you want to, dragons, depending if you are, they don't just show up because you want them to.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things where it's just like, if I manifest really hard, maybe I'll meet one and they'll be my friends. They don't do that. It just depends if your current spirit contract is to collaborate with dragons.
Yeah.
And it's usually because you have to do big shit with your work.
Yeah. Yeah, that resonates. Another thing I was getting to, I remember now, was that the dragon energy was not that it was gone, but that it was re-emerging in a really, really big way everywhere.
Yes.
I don't know if that resonates with you, but I remember getting that a couple, 2, 3 times. That like they had something to do with the beginning, the creative part of the beginning of the realm, and that they were kind of like coming out of slumber. I remember seeing them in my head. They were like waking up and, like, okay, let's get to work. We got work to do.
Yeah, and the reason why they're becoming a little bit more predominant right now is because we've raised our vibration. The other thing that happens is if you are in a lower vibration, whether that be timelines or just personally, the dragons in their physical form exist, as what I understand, at like 8th and 9th and 12th level dimensions. If you are highly intuitive, you can pick up their energy. It's very rare you would see their form. You have to be at that level to recognize their form. Otherwise, you can feel it. And a lot of, I would say a lot of intuitives can feel it, but they mistaken it for other types of energy. Hello? You still there? Are you stuck? Are we still live? Hello? Hello? Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the dragons. What were you just saying? There was something that what was it? Oh, we were talking about the reemergence.
Sorry. Yes. So anyways, thank you for wrapping that up. So the thought was basically we are raising our vibration collectively. Yeah. And so now collectively dragons are back online. They've always been there, but they dropped back into our reality.
Like
we are closer to their vibration.
Yeah. And then there was the and I actually saw one night back here, and it was really weird because it was in the ladies' backyard. There was a hill, then there was some shrubs and foliage, and then there was a kind of a big plant most directly in front of me, and it was like there was these layers. Everything was a layer. The hill was a layer, then the foliage was a layer, then this was a layer, then that was a layer. And I'm standing there, and it was around the time you sent me that note, and Katie sent me a note, and this head's bobbing in front of me like this. And I'm looking at it going, that's a plant, isn't it? But it was just the lighting, and it wasn't normal. It was dimensional. And then I asked a question, and it like nodded its head yes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, am I delusional? But I knew it was very clear. And the next day, or it might have even been in the next hour, Katie sent me a note and said, you've been accepted, or something like that. I just witnessed you, and it was just, you can't make it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just that synchronistic and everything that happened. So I did think about it a few days ago when I had a little run-in with, not a run-in, but I had a little something that occurred in this field next door about a week ago. And again, there was 12. But other than that, a couple other things I really haven't thought about it much until I'm talking to you about it. I'm realizing now how prominent they have been since I've been here. Really, right before I came here, it started. I was in New Jersey and I had a couple episodes. That was the blue one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came here and it was like a, like a dragon convention or something. I don't know. But now I realize how prominent they were and have been and are. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things that all of a sudden a lot of people get really excited about their reemergence. And it's because we have raised our vibration enough that just kind of like on the peripheral of our reality, they're there and we can pick them up. Where in the past you had to be pretty extra special sensory to be able to have them interact with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm getting lit up on this one. Yeah, this is good. Yeah. Yeah, because I tell the story too. The first day I got here, very first day I got here, I walked out over to this cliff where the lady, my friend lived, down into a lagoon. Nobody was there. I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm in Hawaii, and what am I doing here? And I looked to my left, and there's like the foliage of the jungle. It's basically jungle. And I looked through the foliage, and there was a cave. And then I look in the cave, and on the wall there's this dragon, right? Like a big reptile, like a dragon. And it was like, you want to come in the cave? I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then it was like, well, there was other stuff in there too. There was like a bunch of colors and like fairy looking stuff. And there was.
Yeah, you entered a portal.
Yeah, it was. And so I ended up standing there. And I said, I'm not scared, but I'm not coming in. and then it said, what are you going to do? And I said, I accept, everything. I accept you in my heart. I'm not afraid of you. And if you want to eat me, that's okay, but I'm not going to, I accept you, And so then I left thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to find that cave and I'm going in. Right. There was like an altar in there and it was just like,
oh, wow.
It's very, very interdimensional. And the dragon did tell me, this is a interdimensional portal.
Yeah.
You can access anything you want.
Yeah.
And kind of be careful, but you've got big balls, go ahead and do it. And so I went down the next day or the day after to find it or to go back to it, and it was gone.
Huh.
And I stood there for the longest time thinking, okay, because you know how this stuff goes. You're like, oh my God, did I really see that? But I know I did. And that was the beginning right there. That episode was like the initial indoctrination. Like,
the first time you met.
Yeah, they were like, what are you going to do? Are you afraid? And I said, no, I'm not afraid. I'm just, I just got here and I'm a little discombobulated and I want to have my wits about me, but I'll sit here and talk to you. But I'm not quite ready to go in there. And then they said, like, what are you going to do? I said, I accept you. I love you. And let's dance. So I feel like it was a very important. Yeah, you're bringing all this stuff back up now. I've forgotten about so much of it.
Yeah. So was there another question or no?
No, I had asked a question about how do you connect, and in other words, how do you constructively utilize that dragon energy? And you were saying that the dragons don't serve you, you serve the dragons.
That's right. And that's the irony. People think that you basically can use the dragon energy. You can use the dragon energy. I shouldn't say that, but I don't ask the dragons to do things for me. They are always like, okay, you're going to go here. You're going to go there. And sometimes I will be given, just like everything else. It just depends on your energy system and who most likely your vibration you're connecting with when it comes to different dimensions, right?
Yeah.
So for them, I guess I've been just my meat sack is naturally inclined for incoming messages from them, and
right.
I've learned one of the things that happened is in 2007, my son was born. So my ego collapsed. I birthed my humility, and then I started to learn that all of the things that was happening in my brain were not my thoughts. Like it came to me that I actually was a conduit, and my
Yes.
higher aspect was the one that was actually giving all the brilliant thoughts, which was
Yes.
like really soul crushing, because I thought up until that moment I was super
You-
smart, and then I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just really, really articulate at reading and mining the atmosphere for energy and information. So that's what
Yeah.
I do best. So
Yeah.
my natural energy form is I can take all the energy coming in and take out all the good information coming through, and I can read it. And then back before my son was born, I always thought it was just me doing it on my
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
So human hung, no, it wasn't. It was like a higher aspect. So that's funny, because if you the reason I sent you the picture with the blue blob, my higher aspect is not dragon at all. My higher aspect is actually a blue blob. So I was able to, and it's nothing sexy. You know, I love all these some of the guests that come on, and they're like, oh, I'm the Galactic Council, I'm the commander of the Palladians. And I'm like, what the hell's that? And then they would ask me, right? So they were like, well, what's your higher aspect? I'm like, I don't know. But there was this one time I was able to peek at the physical form of my higher aspect, and information came through, and it's just pure energy. It's really a blue blob. Like there's,
Yeah.
if you put energy and you colored it, it's bright electric blue, but it
Yeah.
has no form.
Yeah.
And this energy form floats through. That's my one of the I would say the more proficient higher aspects that I work with. I don't actually work with dragon energy. Just so happens that aspect overlays with the dragon lineage I was born into, and I can mine that information and then present it to people. So
Yeah.
when this information comes in, I can say, okay, this is from the dragons, or this one, this is from the fairies, even though, you know, I don't really connect or relate to them, or this is from this part. So for me, it's more of I'm here. I know I've only been here on Earth in 2 iterations. The first one was when Atlantis went down. So Katie and I were there for that event. I died, Katie survived. But that's okay. And then part of that is coming back for whatever reason. I guess it was part of, because I was never able to do something or save Atlantis. I'm not sure. This iteration of this life form as a human, I'm supposed to bring Atlantis back online.
Wow.
So that is part of it. But part of it, the overlay of the dragon, because I came into this incarnation with this dragon collaboration, is the dragons were part of Atlantis as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they are here. We're here together to
Yeah.
get Atlantis back online.
Yeah. 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 That resonates. Yeah. And I'm remembering too the other night. You know Broder Bilal, Bilal.
Say it again.
Broder, BRO.
Oh yes, I think I saw him briefly. Yeah.
Yeah, Broder. So he's got a very unique function here, and he's followed by a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. Every one of his posts I see is 500, 600, 700 engagements. But anyway, I did a show with him the other day. And it was a night or two before I did it, I went for that walk. And I was getting pulled to this certain place. And when I got there, there was a big circle. And then I kind of bowed to 12 parts. It was 12 parts to the circle, right?
Huh.
And I saw them as each of the different colored dragons. Ended up doing the show with him, and I started getting some higher aspects coming in while I'm talking to him. And there was a connection there. A lot of stuff happened from that moment. So I guess that's a way of following the direction of the dragon, because I was definitely called over there, you know. And then a lot came
Yeah.
from it. Huh?
I would say dragon's it's a very public form of energy. It's very rare you're going to have like a passive aggressive dragon or one that we're works quietly in the background. I've never met any dragon that works quietly in the background. Dragons are very public, because you can't, people gravitate towards that energy. It's like a natural beacon. You can't avoid that energy. Like people will feel dragon before, like for you, people will feel you before you arrive. Yeah. And that's normal. Even for me, people are like, because I mean, you met me in person. I'm like 5 feet on a good day. I'm tiny. But when you can feel me before I come, and that's the amplification of the dragon energy, right? Yeah. So it's one of those. Yeah. And they're normally, you would see anyone in a public speaking role or leadership roles do have huge dragon energy backing them. Like not a big fan of Trump, but I do understand the light worker mission that he's assigned to. That dude has so much dragon behind him, it's not even funny. Right. Yeah.
Is it orange? It must be orange. Dragon. Okay. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is cool. This has been cool. This has been different. This has been really cool. This is what Soulogy is all about. Yeah. And so, let me ask you one last thing. So, sure. with the lineage that you have, how about your household? Is it a common thing to talk about the dragons?
Yeah, it is. Like I said, it's one of those things where for you and I, you have to have like a special hour show to talk about it. My family's so we talk about it as much as we talk about ordering McDonald's. That's how intertwined it is. So, and it comes from my culture because it's not out of context. My dad has always worked with dragons. One of the things for him I'll tell you the story about my birth. So in the Vietnamese culture, they have this there are certain cultural things that should not be perpetuated. So this is one of them. So if you're paying attention, so the Vietnamese culture is like males are firstborn and they bring honor to the family, right? So my dad wanted a male so bad. He was just like, my first child is going to be a male. I can feel it. I'm super confident. And then so basically his balls got in the way of this spiritual journey he was on. I use that term loosely. And he was basically in the astrals saying, my firstborn is going to be so powerful because he's going to be a male. And I'm so confident about that I'm going to, and so the demon's like, you can't be that confident. As a human, you should never be that confident. And my dad's like, no, I'm pretty confident. I'm so confident that if I win this battle with you, you need to be the extra guardian to my firstborn male. And the demon goes, and if I win, I get to possess your firstborn male, or your firstborn. He did not say male. The demon just said your firstborn. My dad's, yeah, bring it on. So yes, all new parents out there, don't do that. So anyways, when I was born, during that time it was the civic war between North and South Vietnam, and my dad actually was a high-ranking officer that fought against the North Vietnam, the Viet Cong, and he went into hiding to basically, because they were trying to get him into retraining camp where they brainwash him and torture him to the ways of communism. So he went into hiding. And my mom was also on a remote island at that time as well. So when I was born premature. I was born in my amniotic sac. And obviously I was born girl, right? So female. My dad was devastated. He did not come and see me for 4 months. Wow. Even though he knew, like, he was just like, how did I get that wrong? My firstborn is supposed to be male, and now there's this female.
Now you've got this demon child. Female.
So then he tells this story to everybody because there's a great ending to it. Anyways, so he comes back and then he feels that the energy from that battle was actually, the demon was still present. The dark energy. My dad calls it demon because that's the literal translation in the Vietnamese culture. But we should just say it's a shadow aspect. So that shadow aspect was present during my entire time. If I went back to Vietnam when I was 17 and my ancestors recognized it and said, why is that aspect still with her? And my dad's like, well, remember that time when she was just first born? But one of the reasons why that aspect has stayed neutral is because the dragons have kept it in check. Yeah. So it's one of those ones. It's just like, even with shadow aspects, there are honors and
Yeah.
there's like rules and regulations that you do honor, that you just help out where you're called upon, but you
Yeah.
are not to harm.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
one
it.
of those things. Yeah. And this is a normal dinner conversation. Even when my children were born, my dad would pop in. He goes, "Hey, did you see Ty got his dragon last night?" And then he's like, "Are you eating fried rice?" Like, that's how much the conversation. I was like, "Yeah, I did feel that." And my dad's like, "Yeah, I wonder when he's gonna notice." He's like, part of, because we, not all the children that were born into our family have their dragon basically guide.
Yeah.
I wasn't born with my guide.
Right.
Mine is basically the shadow aspect that I was born with.
Right.
But my sister, her second one, when Zoe was born, 4 months later, I can feel her guide, dragon guide, pop in.
Yeah.
And then for
Wow.
my family, it's just me that has been able to connect with the dragons. My brother and
Wow.
sister can't, but they talk about them, because they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, great, now this is happening," and they'll blame it on me, right? So whatever it is.
You and your dragons.
Yeah.
Oh, this is beautiful, beautiful. Well, I appreciate it. It was really good catching up with you.
Yes. So good to see you.
We'll have to do it again sometime. Let's talk more
Yes.
about it. I have a feeling there's going to be more dragon presence as the days go on.
Yes, I think so. Because like I said, 2 weeks ago, they dropped back online.
Yeah.
So I'm just expecting a lot of epic kind of world news coming up. Because
Yeah.
usually that's what happens when they drop online. Like, they're not here to just casually hang out, for
No,
sure.
no. They're not here
Yeah.
to eat the fried rice. They're here to do some big stuff. Well, best to you and your family. Hope to get to
Thank
see you
you.
again. You take care. We'll do it again sometime. I'll reach out to you.
Okay, sounds good. Say hi to Morgan.
I will. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. See y'all tomorrow.